She doesn't start missing you when you text more. She starts missing you when your absence feels heavier than your presence ever did. Let's be real, my friend. You've had that woman you couldn't get out of your head. You replay her laugh, her body language, the way she looked at you. Meanwhile, it feels like you disappear from her world the second you're not in the room. You text first. You keep the conversation alive. You check her socials to see if she even remembers you exist. And when she pulls back, you push harder, thinking more effort will finally make her want you. That is not how female psychology works. Women don't miss the man who is always there on demand. They miss the man whose energy lingers after he leaves. The man who knows how to use distance, silence, and presence like a weapon. The man who lives with purpose and calm self-control, so that when he's gone, her mind keeps circling back to him without permission. In this video, I'm going to show you how to become that man. We're not talking about games or manipulation. We're talking about Stoic discipline, behavior shifts, and triggers that make a woman feel your absence more than your presence. If you're tired of being the one who can't move on, this one is for you. Let's get into it. Number 1. Be hard to reach. Let's be real, folks. If you're always available, always responding instantly, always ready the moment she reaches out, she will never miss you. Missing someone requires space, uncertainty, and anticipation. And most men destroy all three without even realizing it. They think availability shows interest. They think fast replies show effort. They think being easy to reach makes the connection smoother. But in reality, it kills the emotional tension she needs in order to feel your absence. Let me give you a real example. David, 58, from Ohio, started talking to Karen, 56. Great chemistry, great conversations. But David made one mistake. He treated her attention like an emergency alarm. Every time she texted, he stopped everything. At dinner, he replied. At work, he replied. In the gym, he replied. His availability was constant and predictable. And after a few weeks, Karen stopped putting in effort. Not because she didn't like him, but because there was no mystery, no anticipation, no emotional gap for her mind to wander into. He gave her everything up front, and in doing so, he gave her nothing to miss. Being hard to reach doesn't mean ignoring her. It means having a life she has to fit into, not a life you rearrange for her. When your time is full, when your schedule is structured, when you're living with purpose, your natural availability decreases. You don't need to act distant. Your life creates the distance for you. And here's where Stoic thinking comes in. Seneca said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." When you're constantly checking your phone, constantly available, constantly giving immediate access, you're nowhere meaningful in her mind. You're noise, not signal. But when your presence is limited, when your replies are thoughtful instead of instant, she feels it. She wonders, she thinks, she imagines where you are and what you're doing. That's how missing you begins. Being hard to reach works for one simple psychological reason. The mind obsesses over what it cannot immediately have. When your attention is not guaranteed, she values it more. When your time is not automatic, she tries harder to earn it. When your energy isn't on standby, she replays your last interaction in her head, trying to fill the space you leave behind. Look at what happened with David once he made a shift. He stopped texting instantly. He replied when he actually had time. He didn't explain himself. He didn't apologize. He simply lived his life like a man who had things to do. And the shift in Karen's behavior was undeniable. She started reaching out more. She started asking deeper questions. She started showing curiosity. Why? Because now there was space for her mind to travel toward him. Women don't bond through constant access. They bond through emotional contrast, presence and absence, closeness and space. When you become hard to reach in a natural, grounded way, her nervous system starts leaning in. She becomes more alert to your signals, more invested, more attentive. Being hard to reach is not about playing games. It's about removing the neediness that kills attraction. It tells her, I am a man with a life. I move with purpose. And if you want access to me, you'll have to meet me halfway. That message is subtle, masculine, and incredibly effective. If this hits home, drop a comment saying, I protect my access. Stay with me, because the next boundary reveals why your calmness becomes the anchor she remembers long after you leave. Number 2. Stay calm and unbothered. Let's be honest, my friend. A woman does not miss the man who reacts to everything. She misses the man she cannot emotionally shake. The man who stays calm when she's moody. The man who stays grounded when she pulls back. The man who responds with clarity instead of panic. That type of emotional steadiness is rare, especially in men who want connection. Most guys fall apart the moment they feel distance, and that reaction tells her everything she needs to know. You're more invested in her attention than in your own center. Staying calm and unbothered is not about acting cold. It's about inner control. It's about refusing to let someone else's behavior destabilize you. Marcus Aurelius said it perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. And the truth is, the moment she senses that her actions control your internal state, she stops feeling drawn to you. Not because she's cruel, but because women instinctively read emotional leadership. If you can't lead yourself, she will never trust you to lead a relationship. Think of it like this: your calmness becomes the emotional space where she feels safe. Your steadiness becomes the contrast to her emotional waves. When she complains, tests, or withdraws, she's not always trying to hurt you. Sometimes she's checking if you're the type of man who collapses under pressure, or the type who stays centered. Women are wired to notice the difference instantly. And here's what most men get wrong. They think responding calmly means responding quickly. It doesn't. Calmness is about pace just as much as tone. When you take your time before answering a charged message, you create space to think instead of react. You show her you're not emotionally hijacked. You show her you don't run on fear or insecurity. That silence, that breathing room, often says more than any long explanation ever could. Another part of being unbothered is not making her emotional moments about your ego. When she's distant, many men panic because they assume it means rejection. When she's irritated, they assume it means she's done. But calm men interpret things differently. They recognize emotional changes as momentary states, not permanent truths. They don't cling. They don't chase. They let the moment pass and respond with maturity instead of desperation. Stoicism teaches that emotions are signals, not commands. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that applies directly here. A woman will miss the man whose energy she cannot knock off balance. The man who doesn't crumble when she's unpredictable. The man who stays rooted in who he is, no matter what she does. Because here's the secret: women remember calm men. They remember how safe it felt to talk to them. They remember the stability. They remember the emotional certainty. And when you're gone, that contrast hits hard. They compare you to every other man who overreacts, over-explains, or overshares. And they always come back to the quiet strength you carried. Staying calm and unbothered doesn't push her away. It pulls her in. It makes her wonder what's behind that steadiness. It makes her work harder for emotional access. It makes her value your presence, because she realizes you don't hand your peace over to anyone. If this speaks to you, drop a comment saying, "I stay grounded." And stay with me, because next we're going into how your words, when used correctly, keep echoing in her mind long after you leave. Number 3. Speak with weight. Let's be real, folks. A woman does not miss the man who talks non-stop. She misses the man whose words stay with her after he's gone. The man who says less but says it with presence. The man whose voice feels grounded, intentional, and calm. Most men your age don't struggle with talking too little, they struggle with talking too much. They explain, they justify, they ramble, they fill every silence because they're afraid she'll lose interest if they don't keep the conversation alive. But the opposite is true. A woman remembers the man whose words have weight, not volume. Let me give you a simple but powerful example. Greg, 57, from Florida, met Marissa, 53, through friends. Greg really liked her. So, on their first few dates, he talked a lot about past relationships, his opinions, his worries, his daily stress. He meant well, he wanted connection, but his words didn't land. They didn't linger. They didn't create curiosity. Meanwhile, Marissa kept thinking, he's a good guy, but he gives everything away too fast. Then Greg made one shift. He slowed down. He spoke less. He took his time before answering. And when he did speak, he chose his words carefully. Instead of a 3-minute explanation, he'd say one grounded sentence. Instead of filling silence, he'd make eye contact and let her talk. Instead of giving away his whole emotional world, he shared pieces, small, intentional pieces. And suddenly, Marissa leaned in more. She asked more questions. She thought about him after the date, not because he said more, but because he said less, with more meaning. Speaking with weight starts with one principle. Your words must come from clarity, not insecurity. When you talk too fast or too much, she feels the anxiety behind it. She feels you trying to impress, perform, or earn her interest. But when you pause before speaking, when you choose calm over urgency, when you say things that reflect who you are, instead of how much you want her, she feels grounded by your presence. That's what sticks in her mind. Stoic philosophy aligns with this perfectly. Seneca wrote, "Speech that is brief and measured carries force." In other words, the fewer words you need, the stronger they hit. And women feel that. Mature women especially feel that. They notice when a man speaks from strength rather than from nervous energy. Here's what speaking with weight looks like in real life. When she asks about your day, you don't give a long breakdown. You give a steady, honest answer. When she brings up something emotional, you don't rush to comfort or fix. You listen first. When you share your thoughts, you speak simply, calmly, and without needing her approval. When silence appears, you don't fight it. You let it breathe. Silence, when held confidently, is one of the strongest forms of masculine communication. Women remember the man who leaves space. They remember the man whose words make them think. They remember the man who doesn't overshare because he respects his own inner world. Greg told me something interesting months later. She said she thinks about my silence as much as my words. That's the power of speaking with weight. A woman misses the man who doesn't flood her senses. She misses the man who leaves emotional echoes. She misses the man who makes her wonder, imagine, and lean forward. If this resonates, drop a comment saying, "I speak with purpose." Stay tuned, because next we'll talk about how using space the right way creates the kind of craving she can't hide. Number 4. Use space as attraction. My friend, here's a truth most men fight against their entire lives. The more space you give a woman, the more intensely she feels your presence. It sounds backward, it feels risky, but it's how female psychology actually works. A woman cannot miss what is constantly in front of her. She cannot long for what she already has unlimited access to, and she cannot chase a man who refuses to step back long enough for her to move toward him. Using space as attraction is not about disappearing. It's about allowing the distance to work for you instead of against you. Most men treat space like a threat. They panic when she pulls away. They over-communicate when she becomes quiet, and they think closeness comes from more contact, more talking, more reassurance. But women bond through emotional contrast. Presence followed by absence, connection followed by reflection, warmth followed by space. Stoic philosophy has understood this for centuries. Epictetus said, If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish. In relationships, that means being willing to let her think you're busy, focused, or even slightly mysterious, instead of desperately clarifying your every move. Space works because it shows you are not dependent on constant validation. It shows you live by your schedule, not her moods. It shows you're in control of your world, and she's invited into it, not consuming it. And here's the psychological magic. Space creates emotional tension. When you pull back just enough, she starts replaying your last interaction. She starts wondering what you're doing. She starts checking her phone more than usual. Her imagination fills the silence far more powerfully than your words ever could. Space also forces her to feel the void you leave behind. When you don't text instantly, she notices. When you have a life beyond her, she remembers. When you don't offer emotional access on demand, she begins to crave it. That craving is the exact feeling men try to force through effort, but you can only create it through restraint. But let me make this clear. Using space is not the same as punishment. It's not ghosting, stonewalling, or passive-aggressive behavior. It's intentional pacing. You respond when you actually have time, not instantly. You maintain your routines instead of abandoning them for her. You end conversations at high points instead of dragging them on. You give her enough warmth to stay connected, but enough distance to stay curious. The men who fail at space are the ones who use it to manipulate. The men who succeed use it to stay centered. When your silence comes from strength, women feel it. When it comes from fear, they feel that too. The key is emotional steadiness. The same calmness we talked about earlier, now applied to how you manage your presence. And when you get this right, something interesting happens. She starts investing more. She initiates more. She opens up more. She tries to close the gap because she feels the difference between having your presence and missing it. That contrast creates attraction stronger than anything you could say in a message. If you want to learn how to master this at a deeper level, including advanced pacing techniques and the psychological cues women respond to most, make sure you join the channel membership. That's where I break down everything I can't share publicly. For now, if this makes sense to you, drop a comment saying, "I create space." And don't go anywhere, because next we're talking about how moments, not words, become the anchor she keeps returning to. Number 5. Make moments count. Let's be real, folks. A woman doesn't miss time you spent together. She misses how she felt when she was with you. Most men never understand that. They think more dates, more calls, more texts will make her attach. But a woman doesn't hold on to quantity. She holds on to emotional impact. One strong moment can outweigh 10 average ones. And the men who know this stop trying to be everywhere and instead focus on creating moments she can't forget. Let me give you a real example to make this clear. Mark, 55, from Arizona, was seeing Lauren, 52. Mark did everything right on paper. He planned dinners, paid for everything, texted daily. But nothing stuck. Every time they parted ways, the connection faded fast. Then Mark changed his approach. Instead of trying to impress her, he focused on being present. On one date, instead of checking his phone or asking generic questions, he slowed down. He made eye contact. He listened deeply. And when she talked about her childhood, he didn't try to fix anything or jump in. He just said, "I hear you." That moment, simple, grounded, masculine, hit her harder than all their previous dates combined. Why? Because the moment felt real, not rushed. Intentional, not performative. Masculine, not needy. Women remember emotional impressions, not timelines. They remember the tone of your voice, the steadiness of your presence, the way you looked at them without needing anything in return. When you create a moment where she feels seen, safe, or lightly desired, that moment becomes a mental replay she returns to when you're gone. That's how missing you begins, not through effort, but through emotional imprint. Here's the mistake most men make. They talk too much, try too hard, or try to win her with big gestures. But big gestures fade. What stays is the feeling of being with you, the calmness, the grounded energy, the subtle masculinity, the sense that you're not distracted, not performing, not chasing, just present. And here's something important. Presence is more seductive than pressure. When you slow down, time slows with you. When you listen without rushing, she relaxes. When you speak with intention, she leans in. This combination makes her nervous system remember you even when you're nowhere near her. Let's circle back to Mark and Lauren. On their next date, he kept the same energy. They sat at a quiet bar, and instead of filling every silence, he let the pauses breathe. He didn't joke his way through the evening. He didn't overshare. He didn't try to entertain her. He just enjoyed being there, and she felt that. At the end of the night, Lauren said something that told him everything. Being around you feels peaceful. That's the moment he knew it worked. Peace is rare. Masculine presence is rare. And rare things are remembered. Making moments count means being intentional. It means choosing quality over quantity. It means letting her experience you instead of chasing her reactions. Women remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. And when a woman remembers you with emotion, she misses you without meaning to. If this makes sense to you, drop a comment saying, "I create impact." Don't go anywhere, because next we're diving into how giving less attention, but with deeper meaning, becomes the trigger that lingers long after you're gone. Number 6. Give less, mean more. Let's be honest, my friend. Most men drown women in attention and then wonder why she never misses them. They text too much, call too often, compliment non-stop, and constantly check in, and they think this shows care. But in reality, it kills attraction. When something is given in excess, it loses emotional value. When you hand out your attention like candy, she doesn't feel special receiving it. This is where mature masculine discipline comes in. A woman doesn't miss the man who gives everything. She misses the man who gives meaningfully. The man whose attention is rare enough to feel valuable, but steady enough to feel real. Stoicism teaches this exact principle. Marcus Aurelius said, "The value of a thing is measured by what you are willing to give for it." In relationships, your attention becomes valuable only when you stop giving it for free. Giving less doesn't mean pulling away in a dramatic or cold way. It means you stop giving impulsively. You stop giving to gain her approval. You stop giving because you're afraid of losing her. You give because you choose to, not because you're trying to hold her interest. That distinction is everything. Women can feel whether your behavior comes from strength or desperation. When you give less, you create room for her to invest. Most men never experience this because they never allow the space for it. They're always reaching out first, always filling the silence, always asking how she feels, always trying to keep things going. But when you give less in a confident, grounded way, something shifts. She has to work for your attention. She has to lean in. She has to wonder what you're thinking instead of always knowing. And here's the psychological truth most guys overlook. People value effort they put in, not effort they receive. When she invests in you, when she reaches out, asks questions, initiates plans, or tries to close the emotional distance, she becomes more attached. When you do all the work, she doesn't have to. Your effort becomes invisible. Your energy becomes forgettable. Giving less also forces you to rise above emotional impulse. When you don't respond instantly, not because you're playing games, but because you're living your life, you gain power. When you don't call the second you feel lonely, you build discipline. When you don't overshare every feeling, you protect your mystery. That mystery is what she thinks about when she's alone. Stoics teach mastery over impulse, and this is where it matters most. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you choose not to overgive, you reclaim control of your emotional direction. And she feels that. Women are highly sensitive to which man is leading the emotional tone. The man who gives less with intention becomes the one she watches more closely. Giving less makes every gesture more powerful. A compliment becomes meaningful instead of expected. A text becomes exciting instead of routine. A moment of attention becomes a reward, not a habit. Women miss the man who gives with intention, not excess. They replay moments that felt earned. They long for attention that isn't guaranteed. They crave the man whose energy doesn't chase, it invites. If this resonates, drop a comment saying, "I give with intention." Stick with me, because next we're getting into how living with purpose turns your absence into something she feels everywhere. Number 7. Live with purpose. Let's be real, folks. A woman does not miss the man who sits around waiting for her attention. She misses the man whose life is already moving, already full, already meaningful, with or without her. Purpose is the deepest form of masculine attraction. It creates gravity, it creates direction, and most importantly, it creates emotional distance without you ever having to force it. When a man has purpose, his presence feels different. He's not clingy. He's not anxious. He's not trying to entertain her. His energy is focused, steady, and intentional. And when he walks away, his absence carries weight because she knows he's stepping back into a life that matters. Let me give you a real example to show you exactly how this plays out. Thomas, 60, from Colorado, retired early. He had time, money, and freedom, but no purpose. When he started talking to Julia, 58, everything revolved around her. He texted her more than he should. He adjusted his day around her schedule. He made her the center of his free time, and because his life had no direction, she became the direction. Julia didn't hate it, but she didn't feel pulled toward it either. Something was missing. Then came the shift. Thomas picked up something he had wanted to do for years: woodworking. He joined a local group, spent hours building furniture, and slowly his life filled with challenge and meaning again. Suddenly his attention wasn't unlimited. When Julia texted, sometimes he was busy. When she called, sometimes he didn't pick up right away, not to play games, but because he was genuinely engaged in something real. And you know what happened next? Julia leaned in. She became more curious. She started asking about his projects, asking when she could see what he built, asking when he was free, instead of assuming he always was. His purpose made him more attractive, not because she cared about woodworking, but because she cared about the man he became when he pursued it. Living with purpose creates 3 psychological shifts. First, it raises your value. A man with direction becomes harder to replace. Women feel the difference instantly. They can sense when a man has something bigger pulling him forward. Second, it builds emotional independence. When your day is full, you don't have time to obsess, overthink, or chase. Your purpose becomes the anchor that stabilizes your emotions. Third, it creates natural space. You don't need to force distance. Your life creates it. And that space is what makes her miss you. Stoicism speaks to this directly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Stop wandering. You are not likely to read your own notebooks nor the acts of the ancient Greeks and Romans, but soon you will die, and still you have not lived in accordance with your own nature." Purpose isn't a hobby. It isn't a distraction. It's the thing that pulls you into alignment with who you are meant to be. And here's the part most men never understand. A woman doesn't fall for your purpose. She falls for the man you become because of it. Thomas told me months later, "She misses me the most when I'm building something." And that's exactly how it works. When you live with purpose, your presence feels strong, and your absence feels even stronger. If this hits home, drop a comment saying, "I choose purpose." And don't go anywhere, because next we're looking at how controlling your emotional world makes your presence unforgettable. Number 8. Control your emotions. Listen, my friend, if there is one thing that makes a woman miss you more than anything else on this list, it's this emotional self-control. Not coldness, not emotional shutdown. Control. A woman feels deeply. She moves through waves of emotion, excitement, doubt, desire, fear, curiosity. When she meets a man who cannot regulate himself, she pulls away. But when she meets a man whose emotions do not swing with hers, she pays attention. Women miss the man who stays steady when their world feels chaotic. They miss the man who isn't rattled by distance delays or mixed signals. Because when you stay grounded, she feels something rare, emotional safety. And here's the truth most men avoid. Your emotional reactions are either building attraction or killing it. When she gets distant and you panic, she feels it. When she pulls back and you chase, she feels it. When she tests you and you get defensive, she feels it. Women are extremely sensitive to a man's internal world. They can feel insecurity even when you don't say a word. They can sense frustration in the shortness of your replies. They can detect anxiety in your need for reassurance. Emotional control doesn't mean hiding what you feel. It means leading your emotions instead of being led by them. Stoic philosophy understood this long before modern psychology. Epictetus wrote, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." And that applies directly to relationships. If her silence, her tone, her delay, or her attitude can hijack your emotional state, she doesn't see strength. She sees instability. Instability never gets missed. It gets avoided. Women miss the man who is stable, not the man who is shaken by every emotional shift. Controlling your emotions means three things. First, you respond instead of react. You let the moment breathe. You pause before replying. You think before you speak. Your tone stays calm even when hers rises. That contrast is powerful. Second, you don't let fear dictate your next move. Fear of losing her. Fear of the distance. Fear she met someone else. Fear is what makes men over-text, over-apologize, and over-explain. Emotional control kills fear by grounding you in self-respect. Third, you stay centered no matter what she does. If she takes longer to reply, you don't spiral. If she's moody, you don't collapse. If she becomes cold, you don't react emotionally. You watch, observe, and maintain your direction. This isn't about dominance, it's about stability. Women remember the man who didn't fall apart. They remember the man who held himself together. They remember the man who wasn't pulled into their emotional storms. Because that man is rare, especially in men over 40 who have spent decades reacting instead of leading. Here's the irony. When you control your emotions, she becomes more emotional about you. When you stay calm, she feels more. When you stay steady, she becomes unstable in the best way. She starts thinking, wondering, missing. Your emotional discipline becomes the anchor she returns to in her mind when she's away from you. If this resonates, drop a comment saying, "I master myself." Stay tuned, because next, we're breaking down how your strength under pressure becomes the thing she remembers on the days you're not there. Number 9. Stay strong under pressure. Let's be real, folks. A woman may admire you when life is easy, but she only misses you when she sees how you act under pressure. Attraction for mature women is not built on your charm, it's built on your stability. When things get stressful, when plans fall apart, when emotions run high, she watches you closer than ever. She wants to see if you stay grounded or if you crumble. And the man who holds firm under pressure becomes unforgettable. Let me show you this with a real situation. Richard, 59, from Maryland, had been casually seeing Elena, 55. Everything was going well until Richard hit a stressful week at work. Deadlines piled up. His boss was on him. His sleep was terrible. And what did he do? He dumped all that pressure straight into the relationship. He snapped at Elena. He over-explained. He apologized too much. He acted like his emotional footing depended on her reassurance. And Elena didn't get angry. She simply pulled back. Not because she lacked empathy, but because she felt something shift. His strength cracked, and once she saw that crack, she couldn't unsee it. A week later, Richard decided to make a change. He handled stress differently. He slowed down, took responsibility for his mood, and stopped leaning on Elena emotionally the second something went wrong. The difference was huge. When pressure showed up again, a family issue this time, he stayed steady, calm voice, clear thinking, no panic, no emotional dumping. And that's when Elena noticed something new. She missed him more when he wasn't around. Why? Because strength under pressure is a masculine trait that leaves a deep impression on a woman's mind. Pressure reveals your character, and the way you act in those moments shows her exactly who you are at your core. Here's the truth most men ignore. If she can shake you, she won't chase you. If she can't shake you, she'll never forget you. Women feel deeply. Their emotional world shifts constantly. When a man collapses under pressure, she loses trust. Not just trust in him, but trust in her own attraction to him. But when a man stays composed, practical and grounded, even when life gets rough, her respect increases. And where respect grows, desire grows right behind it. Respect is the soil attraction grows in. Staying strong under pressure doesn't mean acting emotionless. It means you don't outsource your emotional state to her. You don't make her responsible for your mood. You don't react impulsively because you had a bad day, a bad week, or a bad moment. You manage yourself. You regulate yourself. You calm yourself down before you speak. Now think about Richard. Months later, Elena told him something he didn't expect. She said, "When you stayed calm during all that chaos, that's when I started thinking about you more." That's how it works. Women miss the man who feels like a rock. When you stay strong under pressure, she feels safe. She feels drawn in. She feels a pull toward your steadiness. She feels your absence more because your presence leaves a mark that chaos cannot erase. If this hits home, drop a comment saying, "I stay solid," and stick with me, because next we're breaking down the final piece, the one thing that makes your presence unforgettable and your silence impossible for her to ignore. Number 10. Be consistently you. Let's be honest, my friend. All the strategies we've talked about, space, purpose, emotional control, strong presence, they only work when they come from a place of consistency. The biggest mistake grown men make is shifting their personality depending on how a woman behaves. When she's warm, they're confident. When she's distant, they panic. When she's playful, they lead. When she's cold, they collapse. And a woman can feel every inconsistency like a temperature change. Women don't miss the man who switches his behavior based on their mood. They miss the man who stays the same regardless of circumstances, because consistency equals trust, and trust builds emotional imprint. Here's the core truth. If she never knows which version of you she's getting, she can't attach to any of them. Consistency means your energy doesn't change. Your standards don't change. Your tone doesn't change. Your presence doesn't fluctuate based on her reactions. You don't treat her differently depending on whether she's giving you attention or pulling back. You stay grounded, steady, and aligned with your values. That's the man she thinks about. That's the man she remembers. Because that man is rare. One reason consistency is so powerful is because mature women have lived through years of emotional chaos, from men who couldn't regulate themselves, men who were hot one week, cold the next, men whose moods depended on validation, men who said one thing and did another. After enough of that, emotional inconsistency becomes exhausting. So when she meets a man whose energy remains stable, not robotic but steady, she feels something she didn't expect: relief. And she holds on to that feeling long after you leave. Consistency also creates emotional clarity. It tells her without words, I don't change who I am just because you changed how you feel. That message is powerful. Not aggressive, not passive, just masculine. But I'll tell you where most men fail. They start strong. They start calm, confident, purposeful. And the moment they like her, they drop everything and start catering to her mood. That shift is what kills attraction faster than anything else. Women don't lose interest because you were strong. They lose interest because you stopped being strong. The man who is consistently himself doesn't chase when she pulls back. He doesn't brag when things go well. He doesn't crumble when things go sideways. He doesn't become softer just because she's emotional. He doesn't become harder just because she tests him. He remains steady in who he is. That steadiness is what a woman remembers when you're gone. Think about it like this. Emotional inconsistency creates confusion. Emotional consistency creates longing. When your behavior is predictable in a masculine way, your tone, your decisions, your boundaries, your pace, she becomes the one who starts wondering. She becomes the one replaying moments. She becomes the one imagining you, not because you tried to be mysterious, but because your presence left a clear, stable imprint she can return to. Women miss the man who makes them feel grounded, but they only miss him if he maintains that stability over time. That's what makes your presence unforgettable. That's what makes your absence felt. Being consistently you isn't about being perfect. It's about being rooted. When you move through life with that kind of steadiness, a woman doesn't just notice you, she remembers you every time. You've just learned the 10 habits that make a woman miss you long after you're gone. Not tricks, not games, but the real disciplines that create presence, strength, and emotional gravity. When you live this way with purpose, steadiness, and consistency, you stop chasing and she starts remembering. That's the difference between the men she forgets and the man she can't shake. If you want the deeper lessons and the advanced tools I can't share publicly, make sure you join the channel membership. There is a way to make a woman feel seen, desired, and deeply safe using nothing but a single sentence. Most men never learn it. My friend, you know how this usually goes. You tell a woman she looks nice, you drop the same old "you're beautiful" or "you're hot," and it lands for a second, then disappears. She smiles, says thank you, and 5 minutes later, the moment is gone. No real shift, no real attraction, just another empty compliment she has heard 1,000 times before. The truth is, women are not moved by lazy praise. Especially not women in their 40s and 50s who have lived through flattery games and short-lived chemistry. What actually reaches them are compliments that touch how they smell, how they think, how they move through the world, how their presence changes everything around them. When you understand that your words stop sounding weak and start feeling unforgettable, a Stoic man does not talk to fill silence. He chooses his words like tools with self-control and intention. In this video, we are breaking down 10 powerful compliments backed by psychology and real human nature that make a woman feel wanted as a woman, not just noticed as a body. Use them right, and you will never experience conversation the same way again. Stay with me and listen closely today. Let's get into it. Compliment 1. The scent that pulls you in. Let's talk like grown men for a minute, my friend. Most guys completely overlook one of the strongest psychological triggers for attraction: scent. They stare at her outfit, her body, her smile, her hair, everything visual, while completely forgetting the one thing that hits the brain faster than sight: smell. A woman's fragrance doesn't just smell good. It lingers. It imprints. It sticks to your memory long after she's walked away. And when you compliment it the right way, you're not just praising a perfume, you're letting her know that her presence affects you on a level she didn't expect. Let me make this real so you feel the weight of it. Picture David, 57, an insurance advisor from Colorado. He's at a wine tasting event with a few colleagues when he runs into Maria, 53, a woman he's met a couple of times before. She's warm, intelligent, confident, the kind of woman who doesn't try to stand out, but naturally does. As she walks past him, her scent hits him, not overpowering, not sweet, just memorable. Later in the evening, she comes over to say hello, and David looks at her with calm, grounded composure and says, "That fragrance you're wearing, it's addictive. It really suits you." Maria freezes for a split second. Her smile shifts, her eyes soften, and something in her guard melts. David thinks he just gave a simple compliment. What he doesn't realize is that he touched something deeper. Women your age rarely get complimented on scent anymore, especially by men who deliver it with confidence instead of awkwardness. Here's why it hits so hard. Complimenting her scent is not about perfume, it's about impact. You're telling her she has an effect on you. You're telling her that her presence leaves a trace, a memory, a pull. And mature women, women who have lived enough life to know the difference between shallow attention and genuine presence, feel this instantly. There's also a biological truth behind this. Scent is tied to the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotion and memory. When you say something like, "Your scent is unforgettable," you're telling her that something about her taps into a primal reaction inside you. That subtle desire without crossing any lines. It's intimate without being inappropriate. It's masculine without being crude. But your tone matters. You cannot rush this. You cannot giggle. You cannot sound like a teenager. A Stoic man says it slowly, calmly, like he's stating something real, not trying to impress her. Your composure is what turns a simple compliment into a magnetic moment. When you stay grounded, she feels safe, admired, and subtly wanted all at the same time. And don't forget, this scent is personal. When you compliment it, you're telling her you pay attention to details most men overlook. You see her in a way others don't. That alone sets you apart. So keep this in your pocket, my friend. The scent she wears isn't just fragrance. It's emotion, it's memory, it's presence. And when you name it with confidence, she won't forget the way you said it or how it made her feel. If this lands with you, claim it. Comment, "I notice this." Stay close, because what comes next taps into a part of her presence most men never even acknowledge. Compliment 2. The smile that brightens the room. My friend, let's be honest here. Most men compliment a woman's smile the same way a teenager would. Nice smile. You have a cute smile. Empty, predictable, forgettable. A compliment like that does nothing for a mature woman who has heard it 1,000 times, especially from men who barely look her in the eye. But when a man tells her that her smile brightens the entire room, something very different happens. You're no longer talking about teeth or lips. You're talking about impact. You're telling her she changes the atmosphere just by being in it. And that's a compliment most grown women rarely hear. Here's why it works so powerfully. A smile is more than expression, it's energy, it's presence. It shows her comfort, warmth, softness, and confidence. Women in their 40s and 50s carry responsibilities, stress, and emotional weight that younger women don't even realize exists. When you acknowledge her smile in a way that goes beyond appearance, you're telling her that she has a lightness inside her that still shines through everything she carries. That touches her deeply. And this right here is where Stoicism fits beautifully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." A real smile, a genuine one, reveals the color of her inner life. When you tell her it brightens the room, you're acknowledging the authenticity behind it, not the surface. You're showing her that you're a man who pays attention to substance, not just aesthetics. Trust me, women feel that instantly. But tone matters. You can't rush this compliment. You can't toss it out casually like some line you found on the internet. A Stoic man says it calmly, with presence, with grounded energy. Something as simple as, Your smile really brightens the room, hits her harder when your voice is steady, and your eyes stay on her for a moment longer than usual. That quiet confidence is what makes the compliment powerful, not volume, not charm, not theatrics. And here's another piece of psychology most men never think about. When you compliment a woman's smile, you're really complimenting the emotion behind it. You're acknowledging the part of her that is still hopeful, still open, still capable of joy. For a mature woman, someone who has lived through disappointment, heartbreak, stress, and loss, this is the part she protects the most. When you notice it, she feels seen in a way that goes far beyond attraction. Her reaction won't always be obvious. Sometimes she'll look down. Sometimes she'll smile again, softer this time. Sometimes she'll pause before speaking. But that shift, even if small, tells you everything your words reached her. And understand this. A compliment like this separates you from every other man because it comes from awareness. You're not complimenting something physical, you're complimenting the emotional presence she brings. That's intimacy. That's depth. That's what draws her closer without you having to push. So remember, my friend, a woman's smile isn't just beautiful, it's revealing. It tells you who she is beneath the layers. And when you tell her it brightens the room, you're telling her she still carries light, and you see it clearly. If this resonates, drop the affirmation, "I feel this," and don't go anywhere, because the next insight shifts the entire dynamic from surface-level attraction to something far more magnetic. Compliment 3. The realness that makes her irresistible. All right, my friend, let's talk about something most men overlook completely. Women in their 40s and 50s have spent years surrounded by people who wear masks. People who say what sounds good, act how they think they should, and hide who they really are. So when you meet a woman who is real, unfiltered, grounded, genuine, that alone makes her magnetic. And when you compliment that realness, you're not just flattering her, you're appreciating something she has fought hard to keep alive. Let me ground this for you with a real-world picture. Imagine Tom, 56, an operations manager from Nevada. Divorced, rebuilding his life, confident but quiet. He meets Julia, 51, at a friend's backyard barbecue. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's not performing. She's not talking louder than she needs to. She's just herself. When she speaks, she's thoughtful. When she laughs, it's real. There's no pretending, no acting cute, no fishing for attention. And Tom, being a man who has lived through enough noise, feels something shift. Later, during a quiet moment away from the group, she says something honest, something most people would sugarcoat. Tom looks at her and says, "You know what I like about you? You're real. You don't pretend. You're just you." Julia doesn't blush or giggle. She pauses, looks at him with softened eyes, and Tom notices that she takes a slightly deeper breath before she speaks. That's the moment a woman lets you know your words hit something true inside her. Why does this compliment work so powerfully? Because authenticity is rare, and women who carry it have usually earned it the hard way, through heartbreak, maturity, self-respect, boundaries, and growth. When you tell her you see her authenticity, you're telling her you respect her character, not just her appearance. You're acknowledging the part of her that she built through years of life experience. Men waste so much breath trying to impress when the truth is that authenticity recognizes authenticity. A woman knows instantly when a man is pretending, and she knows just as quickly when a man sees the parts of her that most men overlook. And here's the psychological edge. When you compliment her realness, you help her relax deeper into it. She doesn't have to perform around you. She doesn't have to filter herself. She doesn't have to act feminine. She gets to just be a woman in her natural, grounded state. And trust me, that version of her is the most attractive one. This compliment also tells her a lot about you. A man who values realness is usually a man who has lived enough life to know what matters. Julia feels that with Tom. She can tell he isn't impressed by shiny surfaces. He's drawn to substance. And that makes her feel chosen for who she is, not who she could pretend to be. When delivered with calm, masculine presence, this compliment does something subtle but powerful. It creates emotional intimacy, not romantic intimacy, not sexual intimacy. Emotional intimacy. The kind where she feels safe, opening up more, revealing more, trusting more. A Stoic man understands this instinctively. He knows that genuine character outlasts every form of superficial attraction. That's why, when he sees it, he acknowledges it without hesitation. So remember this, my friend, authenticity is one of the most attractive qualities a woman can have. And when you tell her you see it, she doesn't forget it. If this resonates with you, lock it in. Comment, "I value this." And stay close, because what's coming next taps into a deeper layer of attraction that most men never even recognize. Compliment 4. The mind that turns you on. Let's be real for a second, my friend. A woman's beauty can catch your eye, but her mind is what keeps you coming back. And for a mature woman, someone who has lived, learned, grown, and sharpened herself over decades, being admired for her mind hits deeper than any compliment about her looks. Younger women get complimented for their appearance all day long. But a woman in her 40s or 50s, she wants to know that her intelligence, her insight, the way she thinks, still has the power to pull a man in. When you acknowledge that you're speaking to a part of her identity she's proud of, but rarely appreciated for. Here's what most men don't understand. When you tell a woman, "I love the way you see the world," you are not just praising intelligence, you are praising perspective, experience, depth, the way she connects ideas, the way she notices things others overlook. That's intimate in a way physical compliments will never be. It tells her, "Your mind affects me, your thoughts stay with me. I'm drawn to how you think." And that, my friend, is the kind of compliment that creates real emotional gravity. A woman's worldview is shaped by everything she has survived and everything she has built. Divorce, careers, raising kids, heartbreak, rediscovery, self-growth. Her thoughts are not random, they are earned. When you admire her mind, you are admiring her resilience, her maturity, her perception. You're admiring the woman she became through all of it. This is where Stoicism becomes incredibly powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." A mature woman knows this. She has learned that mindset is everything. She has learned that peace comes from discipline, not luck. She has learned that clarity is a skill. When you tell her that her mind inspires you, you're aligning yourself with this deeper truth. You're saying, "I see the quality of your inner world." That is a compliment almost no man gives. And tone matters again. You don't say it like you're reciting something poetic. You don't dramatize it. You don't flirt with it. You say it calmly grounded, like it's a simple truth. Something like, "I love the way you think. It's refreshing." Or, "Your perspective. It really makes me think." Or, "The way your mind works. That's what gets me." Delivered with masculine composure, this hits harder than anything you could say about her looks. Here's the psychological part. When you admire her thinking, you are telling her she is seen for who she is internally, not just externally. That creates trust. That opens emotional doors. That makes her reveal more of her thoughts, her stories, her private world. And once a woman feels safe enough to reveal her mind to you, attraction deepens in a way that's almost irreversible. Women want to be understood. They want to be valued for their insight. They want their intelligence to matter. And when you reflect that back to her, she softens. She becomes more open, more expressive, more connected. So remember this, my friend, a beautiful face is common. A beautiful mind is rare. And when you show a woman that her mind turns you on, you're telling her she is more than desirable. You're telling her she is unforgettable. If you want deeper tools, private breakdowns, and advanced attraction psychology I can't share publicly, make sure you join the channel membership. And if this part resonates, claim it. Comment, "I think deeper." Stay with me, because what's coming next reveals a different kind of compliment, one that taps directly into her emotional energy in a way most men never notice. Compliment 5. The energy you can't resist. Let's talk honestly, my friend. A woman's looks may catch your attention, but her energy, that's what pulls you in without you even realizing it. And for women in their 40s and 50s, their energy isn't the playful chaos of youth. It's something deeper, softer, warmer, more grounded. When you compliment that, you're showing her you see what most men don't. You're acknowledging the emotional force she carries, the part of her that makes you feel calmer, sharper, more alive just by being around her. Let me make this real for you with a situation that hits close to home. Picture Michael, 58, a project supervisor from Arizona. Divorced for years, decent social life, but nothing inspiring. One evening he attends a community cooking class, just something new to try. That's where he meets Diane, 54. She's not loud. She's not trying to be the center of attention, but the moment she smiles, speaks, or even moves through the room, there is something about her presence that stands out. Michael can't explain it at first. It's not her looks, though she's attractive. It's not her voice, though it's warm. It's the way she carries herself. Confident without being rigid, soft without being fragile, calm but still lively. A mix of warmth and steadiness that draws him in more than anything physical. After a moment of conversation that feels more natural than he expected, Michael looks at her with a grounded ease and says, "You know, you have this energy that's impossible to ignore." Diane pauses. Her breath changes. She holds his gaze a second longer. That's the moment a woman shows you the compliment hit her deeper than you know. Because here's the truth. Energy is the thing. Mature women pour into everyone around them. Family, work, relationships, responsibilities. Rarely does anyone notice it, let alone appreciate it. When you tell her that her energy affects you, you're acknowledging her emotional presence, not just her appearance. And that's rare. Most men compliment things that take zero awareness: looks, hair, body, clothes. But when you compliment her energy, you're telling her you see her essence. You see what she brings into a room, into a conversation, into your state of mind. You see her impact. Psychologically, this compliment does something powerful. It tells her she influences you not by trying, but by simply being herself. Women your age are drawn to that dynamic. They want connection without pressure. They want to feel desired emotionally, not just physically. Energy compliments create exactly that. This is why Michael's words hit Diane harder than he realized. He wasn't rehearsing anything. He wasn't trying to seduce her. He wasn't overthinking it. He was simply present, and women feel the difference between presence and performance instantly. A mature woman's energy is often shaped by everything she's survived. Heartbreaks, rebuilds, responsibilities, sacrifices. When you notice the strength and softness in that energy, you're acknowledging her entire story without her having to say a word. A Stoic man understands this naturally. He knows the value of emotional influence. He recognizes how a woman affects his inner world. He admires the subtle qualities that outlast beauty, age, or status. And when he speaks simply, truthfully, without trying to impress. So remember this, my friend, when you tell her you're drawn to her energy, you're telling her you're drawn to who she really is. And for a woman who has lived enough years to understand herself, there is no compliment more irresistible. If this resonates with you, lock it in. Comment: "I sense this." And don't go anywhere, because the next insight reveals a quality women rarely get praised for, but secretly crave recognition for. Compliment 6. The kindness that makes her magnetic. My friend, let's slow down for a moment and talk about a quality most men overlook completely. Kindness. Not the soft, people-pleasing kind. Not the forced politeness. I'm talking about the kind of kindness that comes from depth, experience, resilience. A woman in her 40s or 50s doesn't hand her kindness out casually. She gives it with intention. She gives it with awareness. And when you acknowledge that you strike at a part of her identity, she rarely receives credit for. Most men chase charm, beauty, confidence, but kindness, they see it as something ordinary. Meanwhile, mature women know kindness is the result of everything they've survived, not some natural default. When you tell a woman that her kindness draws you in, you're recognizing the strength beneath it. And here's where the psychology becomes powerful. Women your age don't want to be seen as fragile. They want to be seen as strong in a way that doesn't harden them. Their kindness is proof that life hasn't broken them. It's proof that they've stayed human even when they had every reason not to. This is exactly why a Stoic perspective fits perfectly here. Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." A mature woman understands this on a level younger people don't. She knows kindness is not weakness, it's discipline, it's mastery. It's choosing grace when life hands you difficulty. When you recognize that in her, you're telling her you see both the softness and the strength at the same time. And you must deliver this compliment with presence. Calm, steady tone, no performance. Something simple like, "The way you treat people, it's rare. It's magnetic." Or, "Your kindness has weight to it. It stays with me." These words hit deeper because they're not about her appearance. They're about her character. And character is something she values far more than beauty at this stage of life. Here's what most men don't understand. When you compliment her kindness, you're not praising behavior. You're acknowledging intention. You're acknowledging her emotional intelligence. You're acknowledging the way she makes people feel safer, softer, more open, just by being who she is. That kind of recognition is intimate, in a way physical compliments will never match. And here's the psychological shift that happens inside her. A woman who feels valued for her kindness becomes more open, more expressive, more relaxed around you. Kindness is a vulnerable quality, and when you appreciate it, you give her permission to show more of it in your presence. That builds emotional connection, not through intensity, but through steadiness. A Stoic man understands that kindness is not a decoration, it's a form of strength. It's a mark of a person who has control over herself. A person who chooses peace over chaos. Women feel incredibly drawn to men who notice this because it shows emotional maturity, and mature women trust emotional maturity far more than charm. And here's another important detail. Complimenting her kindness communicates something about you as well. It tells her that you're not impressed by superficial qualities. It tells her your values run deeper than looks. It tells her you're a man who sees people clearly. And that alone makes her more open to you. So remember this, my friend, a woman's kindness isn't accidental. It's earned, it's deliberate, it's powerful. And when you recognize it, you're not flattering her, you're respecting her. Women feel that distinction immediately. If this speaks to you, mark it down. Comment, "I honor this." Stay close, because the next compliment taps into a part of her identity that most men never think to acknowledge, but every woman is secretly proud of. Compliment 7. The drive that sparks your desire. All right, let's talk like men who have lived some life, my friend. Women in their 40s and 50s don't just wake up motivated. Their drive comes from years of work, sacrifice, rebuilding, and pushing through things that would break most people. When you notice that in her, and actually say it, you're speaking to a part of her identity she's earned, not inherited. And trust me, that hits her far deeper than telling her she's beautiful. Let me ground this with something real. Picture Robert, 59, a retired firefighter from Texas. Good man, steady, dependable. He meets Elise, 52, at a community volunteer event. She's a school administrator. sharp-minded calm with a fire under the surface. Not loud, not dramatic. Just determined in a way that shows she's carried responsibility her whole life without losing her spark. After spending some time together, Robert starts noticing little things. The way she talks about solving problems at work. The way she handles stress without complaining. The way she keeps moving forward when most people would sit down and quit. One afternoon, while they're grabbing coffee after the event, he looks at her and says, "You know, your drive is something else. It's honestly one of the sexiest things about you." Elise stops stirring her coffee. Her eyes lift. Her whole expression changes, not because she's flattered, but because she's seen. A woman's drive is rarely praised. People take it for granted. They admire the results but ignore the grit behind it. And for a woman in her 40s or 50s who has worked for decades, maybe raised kids, maybe built a career, maybe rebuilt herself after heartbreak, that drive is personal. It's part of her backbone. So when you acknowledge it, you're telling her you understand the deeper layers of who she is. Here's the psychological truth behind this compliment. Drive is tied to purpose, and purpose is tied to identity. When you compliment her drive, you're not praising what she does, you're praising who she is. You're admiring the internal fire that keeps her moving, and women your age respond powerfully to that kind of recognition. This is why the compliment works better coming from a man who's calm, grounded, and steady. A stoic man, the kind of man who knows that desire linked to admiration is stronger than desire linked to appearance. When you're relaxed, composed, and sincere, your words land softer but deeper. Something like, "The way you stay focused, it's magnetic." Or, "You have a drive most people don't. I'm drawn to that." Delivered with confidence, not excitement, that's what makes it powerful. And here's another layer most men never notice. When you admire a woman's drive, you give her permission to open up about what motivates her. Her goals, her fears, her passions, her ambitions. These are intimate conversations, the kind that build emotional tension in the best way possible. You're not talking about romance. You're talking about purpose, and purpose is one of the most attractive qualities a mature woman can reveal. The truth is, women want to feel desired physically, yes, but they also want to feel admired for their strength, their direction, their discipline. And when your attraction is tied to her drive, she feels chosen for something that goes far beyond looks. So remember this, my friend, a woman's drive doesn't just move her forward, it pulls you toward her. And when you tell her that you're recognizing her fire in a way most men never bother to see, if this resonates, claim it. Comment, "I admire this." Stay close, because what's coming next taps into a part of her emotional presence most men miss completely, but women crave recognition for. Compliment 8. The warmth that makes you feel alive. My friend, let's speak plainly. There are women whose beauty impresses you for a moment, and then there are women whose warmth reaches you in a way that stays with you long after the conversation ends. And for women in their 40s and 50s, that warmth isn't innocence, it isn't naivety. It's something they've developed through life, pain, healing, and emotional intelligence. When you compliment that warmth, you're not just praising her personality, you're acknowledging the emotional presence she brings into your world. Warmth is one of the deepest forms of feminine energy. It's the way she listens when you talk, the way her tone softens in moments that matter, the way she makes you feel calmer just by being near her. That kind of presence has nothing to do with appearance. It has everything to do with who she is. And when a man names that, it strikes her in a place most compliments never reach. Here's where Stoicism adds weight to this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Kindness is invincible," and emotional warmth is simply kindness expressed through presence. A mature woman understands this instinctively. She knows warmth is strength, not weakness. It's a choice, not a default. And when you tell her, "Your warmth, it does something to me," You're not romanticizing her. You're respecting the emotional discipline behind it. A compliment like this should never be delivered lightly, because warmth is intimate. It reveals who she is beneath the layers, beneath the past, beneath the guard she's learned to carry. So when you tell her that her warmth makes you feel alive, you're telling her she affects your inner world. You're telling her she awakens something in you, not through effort, but through her natural presence. And here's the psychological truth: women this age rarely get acknowledged for emotional impact. People focus on what they do for others, holding families together, supporting co-workers, navigating life's chaos, but not how they make others feel. When you highlight that, you remind her that her feminine strength hasn't faded. It has matured. And tone matters here more than ever. A Stoic man says it slowly, calmly, grounded in truth. Something like, "There's a warmth in you that I don't feel often. It stays with me." Or, "The way you make people feel, that's powerful." Delivered with composure, these words bypass her surface and strike directly into her emotional core. Warmth creates presence. Presence creates connection. Connection creates desire. Not the wild, impulsive kind, but the deep, steady kind that grows every time she's near you. When she hears this compliment from a mature man who means what he says, something inside her opens. She feels safe. She feels valued. She feels seen for something she rarely shares intentionally. This compliment works because it ties attraction not to her body, not to her status, but to her essence. And that is what women, at this stage of life, crave: recognition for the woman they've become, not the girl they once were. So keep this in your arsenal, my friend. Her warmth isn't just comforting, it's life-giving. And when you tell her that you're speaking to the part of her she guards the most carefully, if this hits home for you, anchor it. Comment, "I value warmth," and stay close, because the next insight exposes a form of feminine presence that few men ever notice, yet it pulls them in every time. Compliment 9. The presence that softens you instantly. Let's talk about something most men never admit out loud, my friend. There are women who change your mood the second they walk into the room, not because of their beauty, not because of anything they say, but because their presence carries a calmness that settles something inside you. Mature women, especially in their 40s and 50s, often develop this quality without even realizing it. And when you compliment that presence, you're telling her she affects you on a level far deeper than physical attraction. Let me paint this in a real situation so it lands clearly. Picture James, 56, a logistics manager from Michigan. Divorced, stable, decent life, but always carrying a bit of tension in his shoulders. He meets Carol, 53, through mutual friends at a relaxed weekend gathering. She's not the loudest or flashiest person there. She's simply grounded, steady, comfortable in her own skin, and without trying, she radiates a quiet warmth that shifts the entire energy around her. James doesn't even notice it at first. All he knows is that when she joins the conversation, the atmosphere changes. He feels lighter, more centered, less guarded. They eventually sit together on the patio for a few minutes, and after talking effortlessly, he finally tells her, "There's something about your presence. It settles me. It really softens me." Carol doesn't react dramatically. She doesn't flirt it off. She breathes in, slowly smiles in a way that comes from somewhere deep, and her eyes soften as she looks back at him. That's when James realizes he just complimented something she didn't even know anyone noticed. This is why it hits so powerfully. Presence is not something a woman can force. It's the result of life experience, emotional maturity, and the strength she's built through challenges. When you acknowledge her presence, you're recognizing the quiet mastery. She carries the kind that has nothing to do with looks, status, or performance. And here's the psychology behind it. A woman's presence reflects everything she has learned about calm, boundaries, confidence, emotional regulation, and compassion. It's how she moves, listens, responds, and breathes. When her presence softens you, it means she makes you feel grounded. A man who admits that isn't weak, he's aware. And mature women are drawn to men who recognize internal shifts, not just external details. This compliment also tells her something she rarely hears, that she affects your inner world. Women your age don't want to shock you, overwhelm you, or impress you. They want to matter emotionally. They want to be a source of peace, warmth, steadiness. When you tell her that her presence softens you instantly, you're telling her she brings something into your life that most people never do. Tone matters here. A man shouldn't say it dramatically or intensely. A calm, grounded delivery makes it land. Something about your presence calms me. Or, you have this way of softening me when you're around. Said with composure, it becomes a moment she won't forget. Because here's the truth, presence is the deepest form of feminine attraction. It's subtle, it's powerful, and it stays with you long after the conversation ends. If you feel this, put it in the comments, I notice presence. And stay close, because the final compliment pulls everything together in a way most men never master. Compliment 10. The truth she rarely hears, but deeply craves. My friend, we've talked about scent, smiles, realness, drive, warmth, presence, but now we're stepping into the one compliment that sits deeper than all the rest. The one most men never say. The one she secretly hopes to hear but would never ask for. And it's this acknowledging the part of her that still feels like a woman, not because of age, looks, or effort, but because of the natural feminine essence she carries without trying. Most men tiptoe around this. They're scared to say anything too bold. They don't want to offend her or sound like they're chasing youth. But here's the truth. Women in their 40s and 50s don't crave to feel young. They crave to feel alive. They crave to feel desired for who they are today. Mature, confident, layered, wise, sensual, in a way only life can shape. When you tell her the truth that touches this part of her, you're giving her something she rarely receives. This truth can take different forms depending on the moment, but the essence is the same. There's something about you that's deeply feminine, and I feel it. Or, you have a softness and strength that makes you incredibly captivating. Or even said calmly, you make me feel like a man. Women your age don't hear this often because men assume they shouldn't go there. But this is the compliment that reminds her. Her feminine power didn't fade, it evolved. It sharpened, it matured. And a mature woman's femininity is magnetic in a way youth can never match. Here's the psychology behind it. A woman's identity at this stage is complex. She's lived enough life to doubt herself at times, yet strong enough to know her worth. She's no longer validated by superficial attention, but she still wants to feel seen in a way that reaches deeper than surface compliments. When you tell her a truth that affirms her femininity, her impact, her emotional presence, her depth, you're feeding the part of her that still wants to feel desired, not as a girl, but as a woman. This type of compliment lands because it acknowledges three things at once. First, it says, you see her fully, not just her looks, not just her mind, but the combined force of who she has become. Second, it expresses attraction without desperation. It's steady, grounded, masculine. And third, it speaks to a longing she doesn't show the world. A longing to feel that her feminine essence still affects a man on a deep level. Tone is everything. You don't say this with intensity. You don't say it like a line. You say it with quiet confidence. Something like, there's a depth to you that's incredibly feminine. It pulls me in, said calmly, simply, truthfully. That's when it hits. And here's something important, my friend. This compliment cannot be fake. It has to come from awareness, from presence, from noticing her. When it's real, she feels it instantly. Her eyes soften, her breathing slows. Her guard lowers not because you flattered her, but because you affirmed something she values deeply, but rarely hears spoken out loud. This final compliment isn't about beauty, personality, or charm. It's about essence. It's about acknowledging the part of her she protects the most, the part she hopes the right man will recognize. So remember this truth: women don't crave the perfect words. They crave the honest ones, the ones that see them fully, the ones that remind them they still have the power to stir something inside a man. That is the truth she rarely hears, and the truth she deeply craves. Here's your closing section, my friend. Clean, strong, and straight to the point. You've just learned the 10 compliments that reach women on a deeper level. Not the surface-level lines most men use, but the ones that speak to her mind, her presence, her energy, and the feminine power she still carries. When you use these with calm confidence, you build connection in a way most men never experience. If you want the advanced lessons, the private trainings, and the deeper psychology I can't share publicly, make sure you join the channel membership. And if you want more content like this every day, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Most men chase women so hard they don't even realize they're pushing them away. My friend, let's be honest. You've probably been in that spot where she goes cold, pulls back, and suddenly you're the one texting first, overthinking every silence and trying to figure out what changed. You feel that tightness in your chest because you know you're losing ground, and the more you try to fix it, the more she slips away. And here is the brutal truth nobody told you. Women don't chase the man who reacts. They chase the man they can't figure out. The man who holds his line. The man who doesn't panic when she becomes distant. The man who understands female psychology well enough to know that silence, restraint, and emotional self-control are not weakness, they are power. Today I'm going to show you exactly how men create their own downfall without meaning to, and how a few simple shifts in your behavior flip the entire dynamic. When you learn how desire works in a woman's mind, especially younger women, you stop playing catch-up and you become the one she moves toward. If you're tired of being the chaser, tired of being predictable and ready to understand how to make her feel that pull in her body again, stay with me. Let's get into it. Number 1. The desire she creates when you say nothing. My friend, let's get real. Younger women react to silence differently than men do. When a man goes quiet, he usually means exactly that. He is tired, distracted, or simply not in the mood to talk. But when you go quiet, especially as an older man with presence, something shifts inside her. She starts paying attention, and she starts wondering. A younger woman is used to getting attention instantly. Messages, emojis, validation, quick responses. Most guys can't help themselves. They rush in the moment. They feel her slipping away. But when you don't jump at every opportunity to prove yourself, that silence becomes a mirror. It forces her to notice the space. It forces her to feel the gap. And that gap becomes desire. Let me give you a real example so you see how this plays out in the real world. There is a guy named Mark, a 52-year-old contractor from Arizona, recently divorced, getting back into dating after years out of the game. He meets Haley, a 29-year-old graphic designer. They hit it off, had great chemistry, and texted for a few days. But as soon as Haley pulled back a little, Mark panicked. He started double texting, trying to keep the conversation going. Sending jokes, checking in, trying to look interested. He didn't mean to chase, but he did. And guess what happened? Haley got bored. She felt no tension, no space, no mystery. She felt nothing pulling her toward him. Now compare that to what happened when he finally stopped reacting so fast. He didn't ignore her. He simply stopped forcing the interaction. He didn't try to fill every silence. He didn't send follow-up messages. He took a step back and returned to his life. And suddenly Haley was the one texting first. She was the one asking, "Did you disappear?" She leaned in because that small taste of uncertainty created desire all on its own. That is how silence works, folks. It is not a punishment. It is not a tactic. It is simply removing the pressure so she can feel the natural pull that men destroy when they chase. And women feel this deeply, younger women especially. They crave contrast. They want to feel the difference between a man who centers his life around them and a man who centers his life around himself. Silence reveals which one you are. When you stop reacting instantly, she starts wondering what you are doing. When you stop filling every moment, she starts imagining. When you stop chasing, she starts leaning in. A Stoic understands this better than anyone. As Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. Desire is no different. It is built in the space you allow, not the words you force. Now, my friend, before we move on, I want you to tell me something in the comments. What is the biggest mistake you've made when she pulled back? Drop a simple line: I stopped chasing. Say it to claim it. Stick with me, because the next part exposes the reaction trap that kills your power without you noticing. You don't want to miss this. Number 2. The emotional trap you fall into without noticing. My friend, let's be straight. The moment a woman pulls back, most men fall into the same emotional trap without even realizing it. It happens fast and it happens quietly. One minute you feel confident, grounded, in control. The next minute you're checking your phone, replaying conversations, wondering what you said wrong, and slipping into a mindset that kills attraction instantly. This trap is simple. She pulls away. You panic. And instead of staying centered, you start reacting to your own anxiety. You text first because you feel uneasy. You reach out because you feel ignored. You talk more because she talks less. You move closer because she moves away. And every single one of those reactions signals the exact thing she loses: desire for neediness. You're not chasing her. You're chasing your own discomfort. And here is where Stoicism becomes powerful as hell. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When a man responds from fear, that reaction is neither right nor true. It is not grounded in who he is. It is grounded in who he is afraid of losing. Women feel this shift instantly. Younger women feel it even faster. They sense when your energy changes. They sense when your calm becomes nervousness. They sense when your presence turns into pursuit. It is not the words you say. It is the emotional state behind them. That is what makes this trap so dangerous. You don't notice you're in it. You think you are showing interest, being respectful, keeping the conversation alive. But underneath all of that is insecurity. And insecurity is the strongest repellent in female psychology. When you don't notice your emotional shift, you start giving away power piece by piece. You ask questions you wouldn't normally ask. You reply faster than you normally do. You try harder than you normally would. You over-communicate, over-explain, over-chase. Not because you want to, but because you fear losing her. A grounded man never moves from fear. A desperate man only moves from fear. This is why silence felt powerful in the first place. It wasn't the lack of words, it was the lack of emotional reaction. You were calm, you were steady, you were not chasing certainty, and that steadiness created desire. But the moment you fall into the emotional trap, you break that frame. And when you break the frame, she loses interest, because her attraction was built on the version of you that remained centered, not the version of you that spirals when she tests you. That's the truth nobody told you. Most of what women do in early stages is not rejection. It is a test of your emotional regulation, your boundaries, and your self-respect. When you pass, attraction grows. When you react, attraction dies. So here is the shift you need to make. Stop reacting to the story in your head. Stop assuming her silence means you lost. Stop trying to solve a problem she never asked you to solve. As Epictetus said, you are disturbed not by events, but by your thoughts about them. Your emotional trap is not her behavior. It is your interpretation of it. Before we move on, tell me this in the comments to anchor it. I choose control. 3 simple words, but they define the man she wants. Stay with me because next we talk about the power shift that happens the moment you stop chasing. You don't want to miss this. Number 3. The power shift when you stop chasing. My friend, let's talk about the moment everything flips. Most men think power in a connection comes from effort, from showing interest, from giving energy, from proving you care. But the truth is far more brutal and far more freeing. Power shifts the second you stop chasing, the second you stop reacting to her distance, the second you let the silence breathe. You've probably lived this without even realizing it. When you chase, she relaxes. When you push forward, she leans back. When you try harder, she feels safer doing nothing. Women don't say this out loud, but it is built into the psychology of attraction. The more available you appear, the less desirable you become. Let me give you a real example. There's a guy named David, 47, from Colorado. Runs his own small business, stays in good shape, solid guy. He meets Alyssa, a 31-year-old nurse. They hit it off quickly. But David got excited and started doing what most men do without noticing. He texted first every morning, always initiated plans, always checked in, always made the effort. At first she liked it. Then she got comfortable. Then she got distant. She didn't lose interest because he was a bad guy. She lost interest because she no longer felt the pull. Now here is where it changed. After a conversation with a buddy, David stopped chasing, not to play games, but to reclaim his balance. He focused on his business again. He responded when he had time. He stopped initiating every conversation. He didn't disappear. He just stopped overextending. And the moment he did, Alyssa shifted. She initiated first. She asked where he'd been. She became warm again. The power didn't come from manipulation. It came from alignment. When a man stops chasing, he stops breaking his own frame. And a woman feels that instantly. Younger women especially notice this. They are used to attention being easy, validation coming quickly, men folding fast. But when you don't fold, when you hold your line, when you stay calm, when she pulls away, you stand out at a level she can't ignore. This is where Stoicism shows its strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." When you stop chasing, that's exactly what happens. You move back toward your center. You stop seeking comfort through her responses. You stop bending your energy around her moods. You stop abandoning your responsibilities for a hit of attention. And that calmness becomes magnetic. Men lose power when they make women their emotional compass. Men regain power when they make themselves the priority again. And here is the part that surprises most men. When you stop chasing, you don't lose her. You give her space to feel her own desire again. Women do not chase men who suffocate them with certainty. They chase men who give them room to feel curiosity. Curiosity becomes attachment. Attachment becomes desire. That is the power shift you unlock the moment you stop running after her. Now, my friend, before we go deeper into this dynamic, I want you to leave something in the comments. Anchor this in your mind with the words, "I hold my frame." Stay tuned, because next we get into the reverse pull that makes her move toward you without you lifting a finger. You don't want to miss this. Number 4, the reverse pull that makes her move toward you. My friend, this is where the game flips in a way most men never understand. The moment you stop chasing, something subtle but powerful begins to shift inside her. It is not manipulation. It is not a trick. It is simply human psychology working the way it always has. What is freely available becomes background noise. What is harder to access becomes valuable. When you stop moving toward her, she begins to feel the reverse pull that makes her move toward you. Let's be real. A younger woman is used to men filling the silence. She is used to validation before she even earns it. She is used to men racing to convince her they are worth her time. So when a man does the opposite, when a man responds calmly, slowly, or not at all, her mind cannot help but shift focus. At first she notices the space, then she notices the absence, then she notices the curiosity growing inside her. That curiosity is the seed of the reverse pull. This happens because your silence creates contrast. When you stop trying to close the distance, she begins to feel it. When you stop giving her emotional certainty, she begins to seek it. When your energy stops flowing toward her, she begins wondering why. And that question is the spark of desire. Stoics understood this long before dating coaches existed. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You cannot control her reactions. You cannot control her interest. What you can control is your focus, your emotional center, and your willingness to remain unmoved when she pulls back. That is where the reverse pull begins. The less you react, the more she feels. The more you stay grounded, the more she becomes aware of her own behavior. The less you chase, the more she evaluates why she was pulling away in the first place. This is the moment she reconsiders. This is the moment she looks back at you. This is the moment she becomes aware of your value again. Women never tell you this, but absence is one of the few forces that can shift their emotions without a single word. Not because you abandoned her, but because you stopped pursuing validation. When she realizes you are not waiting on her messages, her mood, or her attention, she feels the shift. And she responds. The reverse pull works because you refuse to be pulled. It works because you stop reacting to every move she makes. It works because you choose composure over panic. This is where most men fail. They think distance is dangerous. They think silence means she will forget. They think pulling back means losing her. But in the world of attraction, the opposite is true. Your restraint creates the chase. Your calm creates the tension. Your stillness creates the spark. Now, my friend, before we move to the next part, I want you to anchor this shift with a simple comment. I choose restraint. It is a promise to yourself, not to her. And listen, if you want deeper training, unfiltered breakdowns, and step-by-step masculine frameworks I cannot share publicly, consider joining as a channel member. The members area is where I teach the advanced Stoic and psychological strategies that actually change a man's life. Stay with me, because next we talk about the mystery your silence builds inside her. You don't want to miss this. Number 5. The mystery your silence builds inside her. My friend, let's be real. Silence is not just the absence of words. In the mind of a younger woman, silence is a canvas. When you're not talking, she starts painting. She fills in the blanks with her own curiosity, her own assumptions, and her own desire. And the more confident and self-contained you are, the more intense that curiosity becomes. Younger women are used to immediate access. They're used to men who text back fast, overshare, and explain every emotion like it's their job. So when you don't do any of that, your silence hits differently. It makes her stop. It makes her think. It makes her wonder what is happening on your side of the world. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. There's a man named Chris, 55, retired military, now running a small security business in Texas. Stoic, calm, grounded. He meets Natalie, a 30-year-old yoga instructor. They click fast. She loves his presence, his confidence, his grounded energy. But the moment she feels that attraction, she does what many younger women do. She pulls back to test what he will do with uncertainty. Chris doesn't chase. He doesn't panic. He doesn't jump into long emotional explanations. He stays centered. He responds when he feels like responding. He keeps living his life. And in the silence, he leaves something powerful starts forming inside Natalie. She starts imagining what he's doing. She starts guessing if he's thinking about her. She starts feeling that small pressure inside her chest that says, "Why am I thinking about this guy so much?" That right there is mystery. And mystery is one of the strongest attraction amplifiers in female psychology. Women don't talk about it openly, but they crave the emotional tension of uncertainty. Not chaos, not manipulation, just the subtle question mark your presence leaves. Silence gives her room to feel that question mark, and the more she feels it, the more she thinks about you. This is why your silence works. Not because it creates fear, but because it creates imagination. Imagination is what builds emotional pull. Imagination is what makes her replay your last interaction. Imagination is what makes her want to reach out first. And here is the part most men never understand. When you stay quiet, she thinks about you. When you talk too much, she gets used to having you. Mystery dies in abundance. Mystery grows in space. Younger women especially feel this contrast. They are overstimulated, over-validated, constantly surrounded by attention. But when they meet a man who doesn't rush to be understood, who doesn't dump his feelings into the conversation, who doesn't need to prove himself, they feel something different in their body. It is interest mixed with tension, curiosity mixed with desire. Your silence becomes a presence. Your calmness becomes a message. Your restraint becomes attraction. And that is what makes mystery so powerful. It is not created by hiding. It is created by being selective. Women don't want every detail of your life. They want the feeling that there is more to learn, more to uncover, more to experience. Now, my friend, before we go to the next part, I want you to drop a simple line in the comments to claim this mindset. I allow mystery. Stick with me because the next part breaks down the distance that makes her respect you again. You don't want to miss this. Number 6. The distance that makes her respect you again. My friend, let's be real for a moment. When a woman starts losing respect for a man, it almost never happens overnight. It's a slow shift. A small change in tone, a subtle pause in her replies, a colder energy in her voice. And most men react to that shift by doing the very thing that destroys their position completely. They try harder. They become more available, more emotional, more invested, more present. And the more they give, the less she respects them. See, respect is tied to boundaries. And the moment you start abandoning your boundaries to keep her close, she feels it instantly. She might not say it, she might not even understand it consciously, but the energy changes. Your presence stops feeling masculine. It starts feeling needy. Distance is what resets that imbalance. Not distance as a punishment, not distance as manipulation, but distance as a return to yourself. When you pull your energy back, when you stop reacting to her mood swings, when you stop letting her inconsistency dictate your behavior, something shifts inside her. She may not admit it, but she feels grounded by your restraint. This is where Stoicism becomes more than a philosophy. It becomes a filter. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Distance is a reminder of that power. You are not withdrawing because she disappointed you. You are withdrawing because you refuse to operate from fear. You are withdrawing because you refuse to lose yourself in the process of wanting her. And that kind of distance commands respect. Women respect men who do not collapse under emotional pressure. Women respect men who don't panic when they feel a shift. Women respect men who stay calm in the storm. When you create distance, she starts noticing the parts of you she took for granted. The steadiness, the presence, the masculine calm she once leaned into. She begins to understand that your attention was not free, it was earned. And that recognition changes everything. She starts reevaluating how she spoke to you. She replays the last few interactions. She feels a small sting of loss, even if she doesn't admit it. And that sting is important. It reminds her that your time and your energy are not unlimited. Younger women especially respond to this. They are used to attention following them everywhere they go. But when the one man they actually found intriguing steps back, that's when respect returns. Distance works because it reintroduces the one thing she stopped feeling from you, your self-worth. Men lose respect when they crowd a woman's space. They regain respect when they reclaim their own. And here is the real beauty of it. Distance doesn't require anger. It doesn't require coldness. It doesn't require a performance. All it requires is discipline. The discipline to stay in your lane. The discipline to keep your focus on your life. The discipline to let her feel the absence instead of filling it for her. That discipline is masculine. That discipline is rare. And that discipline rebuilds the respect you thought was gone forever. Before we move forward, drop a simple line in the comments to anchor this in your mind. I choose discipline. Stay tuned, because next, we talk about the shift she notices the moment you detach. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. Number 7. The signal she feels when you finally detach. My friend, here's the truth most men never realize. A woman does not react to your words the way she reacts to your energy. She reads tone, pacing, presence, and most of all, the emotional signature behind everything you do. And when you finally detach, when your focus shifts back to your life, your purpose, your routine, she feels that shift like a signal in her body. Not because you announced anything, not because you tried to make her jealous, but because your energy stopped pointing toward her. And women feel that instantly. Let me show you how this plays out with a real example. There's a man named Ryan, a 50-year-old paramedic from Florida. High-stress job, disciplined guy. But when he started seeing Morgan, a 28-year-old fitness trainer, he fell into the same trap many older men fall into with younger women. He got attached too fast. He made her the center of his attention without even realizing it. The moment she pulled back a little, he shifted. He started checking her social media more, texting sooner, thinking more about the next date than about his own life. And Morgan picked up on that instantly. Not because he said anything, but because his emotional focus had turned toward her. Attraction dropped. Respect dropped. The dynamic shifted. But here's where it gets interesting. When Ryan finally caught himself and detached, things changed. He didn't disappear. He didn't punish her. He didn't create drama. He simply returned to who he was before the pullback. He trained again, slept better, focused on his work, hung out with his buddies. The version of himself she first liked came back online, and Morgan felt that shift immediately. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional pressure. When a man detaches, the pressure dissolves. She suddenly feels space again, and that space makes her curious. It makes her wonder what happened. It makes her question her assumptions. It makes her rethink how much she matters to you. That curiosity becomes the spark that pulls her back. This is what men don't understand. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is not anger. Detachment is not manipulation. Detachment is emotional independence. When you detach, she feels 3 things at once. She feels the loss of your attention. She feels the return of your strength. And she feels the shift in power. Women respond to that shift because masculine detachment is rare. It signals a man who cannot be controlled by mood swings, silence, or inconsistency. It signals a man who values himself more than the attention he gets. It signals a man who can walk away if necessary. Younger women especially react to this. They are used to men folding fast. But when a man doesn't fold, their interest resets. And here's the most important part. Your detachment activates something inside her. It makes her look inward. It makes her reconsider her behavior. It makes her think about the last thing she said or did. It makes her want to move in your direction again. That is the signal she feels, even if she never says it out loud. Before we move on, lock this in by dropping a short line in the comments. I hold my value. Don't go anywhere, because next we dive into the curiosity you trigger with absence. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. Number 8. The curiosity your absence forces her to face. My friend, let's keep it real. A woman can ignore your messages. She can distract herself. She can even convince herself she doesn't care. But there is one thing she cannot ignore, no matter how hard she tries. The curiosity that grows in the silence you leave behind. When you pull back and return to your life, something interesting happens inside her mind. She starts asking questions she wasn't asking before. Not because you're playing games, but because your absence removes predictability. And predictability is the enemy of desire. See, when you were always available, she never had to think. She never had to wonder. She never had to imagine. She always knew what you'd say, how fast you'd reply, and how ready you were to engage. That certainty felt nice for her ego, but it did nothing for her attraction. But when you create even a small amount of space, her mind starts working again. She wonders what you're doing. She wonders why you went quiet. She wonders if you're thinking about her, or if someone else is. And the more she tries to push the thought away, the more it returns. This is why absence is powerful, not because it punishes her, but because it creates room for her own desire to breathe. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your absence paints her thoughts with uncertainty, and that uncertainty deepens the emotional impact you have on her. She starts replaying conversations in her head. She starts analyzing her tone, her last message, her attitude. She starts wondering if she misread the dynamic. She starts thinking about the version of you she felt drawn to before things shifted. And here's the thing she will never admit even to herself. She notices when your energy is no longer wrapped around her. Women are intuitive. They feel emotional distance long before they understand it logically. They can sense when a man has shifted back into his purpose, his routine, his self-respect. And even if she was drifting away before she suddenly feels a subtle pull inside her. Absence does not make every woman chase, but absence forces every woman to confront her thoughts. And confronting those thoughts is where attraction often reignites. This matters even more with younger women. They are used to instant gratification. They are used to men collapsing quickly. They are used to emotional access on demand. So when a man doesn't give that, their curiosity spikes harder than you think. And the funny thing is, your absence highlights one truth she cannot ignore. You are not dependent on her attention. That realization is rare for her. And rare things create emotional value. This is why detachment works. Not because she fears losing you, but because she begins to feel the space where your presence used to be. And that space becomes a vacuum her mind tries to fill. Your absence becomes the story she tells herself. Your silence becomes the tension she feels in her body. Your distance becomes the spark she didn't expect. Now, my friend, to anchor this lesson, drop a simple line in the comments, "I create space." Stay with me, because next we break down the pullback that makes her revalue you completely. You don't want to miss this. Number 9. The pullback that makes her revalue you. My friend, let's talk about one of the strongest psychological shifts a woman can experience. It happens quietly, it happens internally, and it only happens when a man stops pushing for connection and starts living like a man who knows his worth. This pullback is not petty. It is not emotional revenge. It is a reset. And women feel this reset deeply, especially younger women who are used to men chasing without hesitation. When you stop giving her the emotional comfort she didn't appreciate, she suddenly has to evaluate what you actually meant to her. And that evaluation often hits harder than you think. Let me paint this clearly through a real-world example. There's a man named Jason, 54, a firefighter from Ohio. Solid career, grounded personality, masculine energy without trying. He meets Brianna, a 27-year-old hairstylist. Sparks fly instantly. But as things progress, she starts getting comfortable, too comfortable. Her replies slow down. She becomes less warm. She invests less effort. And Jason, like many good men, didn't notice the shift at first. He just kept showing up. But then she cancelled a date last minute, and something inside him clicked. Not anger, not jealousy, just clarity. He realized he was giving more than he was receiving. So he pulled back. He didn't lecture her. He didn't ask for explanations. He didn't chase reassurance. He simply stopped overextending. He lived his life. He hit the gym. He spent time with his kids. He got back to his routine. And that's when it happened. A few days later, Brianna felt it. She noticed the silence. She noticed the shift. She noticed that her actions actually had consequences for once. And inside her mind, something began to turn. She replayed the last week. She questioned her tone. She asked herself if she had pushed too far. Women revalue men when the man stops broadcasting his value. That's the paradox. When you stop telling her who you are and start showing it through your distance, she is forced to see it on her own. And seeing it on her own is what reactivates desire. This pullback works because it eliminates the pressure she felt and replaces it with accountability. She begins to realize that your attention isn't guaranteed, your effort isn't automatic, your presence isn't a gift she can take for granted. You become valuable again because you stop treating her like the center of your emotional world. And here's something powerful. Women feel the difference between a man who pulls back emotionally and a man who pulls back with purpose. One is fear, the other is strength. Jason wasn't afraid. He was simply self-respecting. That difference is what made her come back. Younger women are used to men chasing even harder when they pull away. But when a man moves in the opposite direction, when he steps into his own life, instead of clinging to hers, she suddenly sees him through a different lens. Your pullback makes her reflect. Your pullback makes her uncomfortable in the best way. Your pullback makes her realize she misjudged your value. And once she revalues you, she approaches differently. She speaks differently. She invests differently. She tries. Before we move on, drop a short line in the comments to anchor this truth. I pull back with purpose. Let's keep going because next we're breaking down the Stoic move that changes everything. You don't want to miss this. Number 10. The Stoic move that turns everything around. My friend, this final point is the one most men never master. It is also the one that separates a man she forgets from a man she chases long after the moment has passed. The Stoic move that flips everything is simple but not easy. It is the ability to remain emotionally unmoved while still being fully present in your own life. You stop fighting for her attention. You stop reacting to her distance. You stop trying to control how she feels. Instead, you control the only thing a Stoic ever cares about: your internal state. Women feel that shift immediately. When you are no longer shaken by her silence, her uncertainty, or her mixed signals, she feels something she didn't expect. She feels the presence of a man she cannot push off center, a man she cannot manipulate with mood swings, a man she cannot pull into emotional chaos. And whether she admits it or not, that kind of man activates her deepest attraction. This is where modern men fail. They think the goal is to convince her, win her over, impress her, ease her doubts. But the Stoic approach flips that upside down. You don't soothe her emotions, you master your own. When she pulls back, a reactive man asks, "What did I do wrong?" A Stoic man asks, "Is my reaction aligned with my values?" Two completely different worlds. You already saw through the earlier parts of this video how silence, distance, and detachment reset the dynamic. But this final move is different. It's not a reaction. It's not a strategy. It's an identity. A Stoic man chooses stability over approval, direction over distraction, self-control over emotional impulses. When you embody that, everything in the dynamic changes, not because you forced anything, but because she finally feels the truth. You want her, but you don't need her. Younger women especially respond to this. They are used to emotional instability. They are used to men getting thrown off center by the smallest shift. But when you stay grounded, they feel something rare, something masculine, something that awakens respect before it awakens desire. This is why the Stoic mindset is so powerful in dating. It eliminates desperation, it eliminates performance, it eliminates the emotional roller coaster that destroys a man's frame. Instead, you become the calm in the storm, the one place where she feels a different kind of energy. The Stoic move that turns everything around is not pulling back. It's not going silent. It's not reverse psychology. It is remaining unshaken. Your actions no longer come from fear. Your decisions no longer come from insecurity. Your words no longer come from a place of trying to be chosen. You have standards and you enforce them. You have a life and you live it. You have purpose and you protect it. And when she realizes she cannot pull you off your path, she begins to move toward you slowly at first, then unmistakably. That is the moment the chase flips. Not because you manipulated her, but because you became the kind of man women naturally chase. This is the final shift, my friend. Not a tactic, not a game, a way of being. And once you step into this version of yourself, the entire dynamic changes forever. And that's what this video came down to. Understanding the psychology behind her behavior, the subtle shifts that make her chase you, and the Stoic mindset that keeps you grounded, unbothered, and in control, no matter what she does. If you want to go deeper and unlock the full advanced strategies I can't share publicly, make sure to join the channel membership. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next